What's up and welcome back, treasure hunters. Today is episode 2 of sales, profits, and what to look for. I'm going to go through a handful of items that I sold on Etsy and eBay, review how much I picked them up for, why I picked them up, what caught my eye, and of course, how much profit I made. All right, let's get started here. Here's the first thing I'm going to show you. This is a mixed media collage, meaning that there are a bunch of different types of media used to create this piece of art. It was done by Grace Ann Warren in 1988. What caught my eye about this one was the frame. It was thicker. When you're looking through, like, I don't have a picture of it, but when you look at it from the side, it was a lot thicker than a normal picture frame. So that kind of sparked my interest. And also, it was signed here in pencil and dated 1988. So that way, you know, it's not just a decorative store item, it's an artist piece. And then on the back, it did have Grace Ann Warren Mixed Media Collage. So it made it really easy to do a quick search. And I found most of her items were selling in the $200 to $400 range. There was this damage. It looks like this it was dropped or something, chipped the glass, and this was a little bit off. I tried to put this together, but it was kind of bent, so I just left it alone. You can still sell slightly damaged items. Just make sure that you document, any damage to it and mention it in your in your description here. That way, the seller's not going to come back and want to return something because they're surprised that there's damage to it. So I picked this piece up for, I think it was around $6.99, and I did sell it for $300. Here's the next thing I sold. This is actually a hand-colored fine art photograph, and this was done by George B. Petty, and it was titled Stroll Through the Woods. Here you can see that it is titled here and signed in pencil. The photo is really nice. It was in very good condition, and this was fairly old. And here you can see his signature and Stroll Through the Woods. I actually picked this up from an online estate auction that was nearby that I just picked up, so I didn't have to pay for shipping. But I got this for like $2. No one bid on it. I did a search and I found a couple other photographs that were by George Petty, and they sold in the $200 to $300 range. So this was a really easy buy. Very cool piece, photograph. Anytime I see old photographs that are signed, I always take a second look because some artists' work, older photographers' work, you wouldn't think would be worth as much as it really is. So anytime I see an older or antique photo signed, always try and figure out if you can find more information about the photographer, because sometimes those can equal big money, and it's they definitely go under the radar. Here's another piece of pottery that was made outside of the US. It's an antique Arabic pottery or Iznik pottery, and it's hand painted, and you can tell this type of pottery definitely old because it has this you can see that it's painted, but then it has this thick outer glaze over it. And this style is very common to the Islamic or Arabic pottery. And the 5-stem vase, though I couldn't find any other like it. I picked this up at a estate sale or state auction, and I got it for $3, and I picked it up in person. So it was super cheap. I think I had this in a video a while ago, but it's a really cool, unique piece. The shape is definitely unique. Anytime I see vases with stems like this, that's just looks different. It's usually worth picking up, but this one I hadn't seen a 5-stem vase before that you can really see how that glaze is over all the painted pottery underneath, and then the bottom has some chipping, but it's a pretty old vase, so that's fine. Surprisingly enough, I've found a couple pieces of this type of pottery out of the thrift stores, and it's always super cheap because it doesn't look like very expensive pottery just because it is so old and it's everything is handmade and hand painted. But these actually do sell pretty well, and I sold this for 150 bucks, which is a super good profit. So anytime you see older pottery like this, especially with this like polychrome, I think it's polychrome vase or glaze, definitely pick those up. So here's something I picked up when I first started. I was just kind of buying anything that I thought I might be able to make any profit on. This is a vintage pen holder, but the pen didn't come with it. Just a brass pirate and a monkey on this wood slab. And I picked this up for under $5. The nice thing about it was the nameplate here didn't have anybody's name engraved on it. So usually when you find stuff like this, somebody's name is engraved on it because it was a gift or whatever. But this one didn't have a name on it. I actually just had this stashed away. I recently found it and decided to, I needed to get rid of it. So I just threw it up for 35 bucks and that's what I ended up selling it for. So not a huge profit. Picking up items like this, especially when you can price them lower, they tend to sell a lot quicker. So you can make quicker sales, and these are good for, gifts and stuff for people. And they're also very easy to ship. Really good items to start with when if you're like just starting out thrifting and stuff and need to make an inventory. These type of items are good to throw up on eBay and Etsy. So this is a piece I picked up at Savers, and I got this for $4.99. I just thought it was really unique. You can tell that this was handmade. All these are, welded into this metal plate. And you could put spices or whatever, I guess, or different oils in these little corked bottles. It was in good condition. The only thing that was wrong was this one of the corks was missing, but it's not a big deal. You can easily get one of those. And the bottles just, come right out like that. Shipping this was kind of a pain just because I had to wrap every bottle. Not a huge deal. Anytime I see, like, these are more functional items, so these also tend to sell faster. And anytime I see handmade, unique, cool looking, functional items like this for, a cheap price, I always pick them up too, just to, you get those sales pretty quickly. And I got this probably about, I don't know, a couple years ago, I imagine. And I had it up for, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 months. Still, for a $5 investment, selling it for 75 isn't too bad. So here's something a little different. This is a vintage Rembrandt lamp. It's kind of Art Deco style. This is metal here, and then the same piece of metal up here has that little squiggly line design. Anytime I see, this is obviously a Rembrandt lamp because you can see the little plate here. But anytime I see this type of socket here at the top, it's usually a Rembrandt lamp, at least from what I've seen. Even if I did find a floor lamp that was a Rembrandt, but the little plate fell off, but I still knew it was one just because of how the top was. I didn't have the screws that go in here that would hold a glass shade, and didn't have the glass shade either. Anyway, I picked it up for $5 at a Goodwill, and just any, mid-century modern art and deco stuff like this, if you can get it for cheap, it sells really well, and you can definitely make a really nice profit from items like this. This one was in pretty good condition, only a little bit of chips off this little squiggly design here and there, but overall, it still worked and it still looked pretty nice. The brass wasn't too discolored or patchy or anything. So I picked it up for $5 at a Goodwill and sold it for 200 bucks. So now I'm going to show you a couple eBay sales. I don't show a ton of eBay sales because they're only visible for 90 days. So after that, they disappear. I figured I recently made a couple good sales that are different from what I normally show in art and all of that. So here's the first one. I picked this up at an online auction. I think I paid $100 for it. I hadn't heard of the company OE watch, and it says tourbillon, which it's a French word meaning vortex, I think I read, or whirlpool or something like that, but it has to do with the movement inside the watch. I don't think this was a Swiss made watch, and I don't think the movement was that either. I think this is made in China, and maybe something on this is Swiss made, but it definitely, I don't think it was a Swiss made watch. But either way, it had nice functionality, and when the watch was actually running, this you could see all the gears and all the internals moving around, which is pretty cool. But what really made this watch kind of different was it's an erotic watch. So those figures move when the watch is moving, but it's on the back. But it's just kind of a funny piece, very unique piece, and definitely something that grabs the attention at kind of a gag gift or that sort of thing. It did not, it only had one half of a band, so I did have to spend, I think, like $15 to get a new leather band, put that right in, and ended up, I had this listed for 600, and because I saw some were listed, I didn't find any that actually sold. Some of these were listed for over 1,000, and there are other ones that really weren't working, that were listed for a couple hundred. So I listed it for 600 and somebody offered me 450 and I just accepted that. Cost nothing to ship. Just something different. And again, I always go for unique, different things because they tend to grab people's attention and you can sell them for a higher price and a lot quicker. So the next thing I sold here, and I'm trying to show you, I like to get in these, sales profits and what to look for videos. I want to get a good variety of things to, that you can sell and make really good profit from. And I don't do a ton of sales of clothing or of shoes or boots or anything like that, just because kind of difficult to find things that are, in really good condition that you could actually make a decent amount of profit from, because Goodwill has raised their prices on a lot of, the shoes and the boots and everything. But these ones, as soon as I saw them, I definitely noticed that they were high quality. And one thing to look for on this are, the bottoms here and the nails. These are Tony Lama boots. Here you can see, they're all leather and stitched and everything else. Inside, even the inside's all high grade leather. And they were size 11. So that's a pretty good size shoe. If these are size like 14 or something, I probably wouldn't have got them because they're a lot harder to sell just because most people don't have feet that big. Not saying it's wrong if you do, but they just don't sell that fast. Little worn, but they were broken in. You can get these resold at like I think a cobbler. I don't even know if they go by that anymore. Like if you find a cobbler shop or whatever, but I'm sure that there are places where you can get these resold and stuff. These are still in good condition. I paid $27.99 for these, and I only had them up maybe like a week, and ended up selling them. I think somebody offered me $100, and I just accepted. And shipping was paid for by the buyer, so a good quick flip there. So here's the last thing I'm going to show you, and this is also a bit different, but these were brand new stock Harley Davidson mufflers for a 2000 Sportster 1200. I picked these up for like $15 or something. If you ever, anybody that has a Harley knows this, but anybody that's not familiar, Harley stuff is expensive. Like Harley parts are expensive, original stuff is expensive. So anytime you can find new, whether it's like good, very good condition clothing, jackets, boots, parts, and you can get it for a good price, you'll be able to sell it for a profit on eBay pretty quickly. I really didn't find anything exactly like these, but similar mufflers and that shops and stuff had them for 200, or, you know, $229 or something. I just wanted to sell them quickly, so I just priced it for $150, and somebody offered me $100, and I just took it. They're easy to ship. They're not going to get damaged. I could probably just put them back in this cardboard box and slap a label on them, and that'd be fine. You don't find this stuff too often, especially at the thrift stores, but when you do, it's definitely a good idea to pick it up as long as it's not crazy expensive. Well, that wraps up episode 2. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just drop them below and I will answer them as soon as I can. I'd appreciate it if you enjoyed the video to hit that like button and also to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I've got some nice auction finds and thrift store finds that I'll be reviewing soon, so stay tuned for that. And until then, I will see you in the next video.